Ladies and gentlemen, this is TVP World. You're watching another episode of Break the Fake, where we debunk fake news and combat false narratives. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee, and let's get rolling. Now, the European Parliament elections are scheduled for the weekend and will run from June 6th to June 9th. The campaign is in full swing, but we won't be talking about candidates or their programs today. Instead, we'll be focusing on one organization that seems to eclipse candidates and parties in its involvement in the run-up to the elections. Who do we mean? Well, Russian foreign intelligence, of course. They don't have any official candidates running, but they do have their preferences. Take, for example, the border between Poland and Belarus. Over there, Belarusian state security basically serve as an extension of Russian intelligence. Minsk keeps ferrying migrants to the border areas and letting them loose to wreak havoc in the area. 2 days ago, around 4 in the morning, a Polish patrol was attacked by a group of around 10, throwing stones, thick branches, some even using gas. Now, the injured soldier tried to intervene, but he was attacked with a tree bough, leaving him with wounds to the eye. Now, the officer stabbed on May 28th is still in a serious condition. What was he stabbed with? A migrant threw what was basically a makeshift spear carved from a longer branch and with a blade affixed at the end. The man threw it over the border fence, hitting the soldier in the neck. Attacks like these have basically become commonplace in the Polish-Belarusian border. In the meantime, Polish market research firms have been receiving offers to poll Polish nationals for their opinions about Russians and Ukrainians, with the submitted question list including some very biased queries. But the offers come with a price tag 2 or 3 times higher than the market rate. Now, that wasn't the only thing that raised eyebrows among potential takers of the contract. According to one company rep interviewed by Polish daily Sabotage, when someone puts together a request like that, they're usually easy to identify by company name, email addresses, and the like. And here, the emails came strictly from Gmail accounts rather than company addresses. Sabotage also points out that the companies in question have noticed that the businesses mentioned in the email footers either don't exist at all or had no idea that someone was using them for cover. Now, this comes on the heels of a recent operation where the Russians hacked a Polish press agency and used this website to publish 2 fake news items about Warsaw introducing mass mobilization. In response, Poland's foreign minister said that we know who's behind the operation and what the objective is. It's to demonstrate to all of Europe that its outer borders have security gaps that can be exploited and thus strengthen far-right parties and organizations across Europe, which are promising to wreck the EU from the inside that we cannot allow. French media outlets have discovered a Russian trace in the case of 5 coffins that appeared on Saturday in downtown Paris. Adorned with the words "French soldiers killed in Ukraine," the coffins were placed near the Eiffel Tower. 3 people have been detained in connection with the investigation, according to the Le Parisien Daily, 1 from Bulgaria, 1 from Germany, and another 1 from Ukraine. Now, a few weeks earlier, unknown perpetrators left handprints in red paint on the wall of the Righteous by the Shoah Memorial in Paris. The prints defaced a wall carrying the names of 3,900 people who helped rescue Jews in World War II. Sowing fear and distrust towards law enforcement and security services is basic terrorism 101. And as a terrorist state, Russia is wielding power and possibilities that no other terrorist organizations in history could ever dream of. But why does Russia need Europe scared? Well, to spread the Kremlin's trusted friends far and wide, of course, to keep EU dependent on Russian money and infiltrated by Russian operatives. The polarization whipped up by emotions might very well give rise to a new coalition of Kremlin's chosen leaders of the new Europe, a Europe divided, selfish, and begging for Russian hydrocarbons. And now the Russian propagandists are at it again, threatening yet another country. Which one is it this time now? Well, they're calling for the destruction of Poland and Poles with Iskander missiles tipped with nuclear warheads.
Берем, например, Польшу, как наиболее такую ближайшую к нам, и наиболее реальный кандидат на оказаться небольшим таким, неограниченным театриком ядерной войны. Там найдется 20 крупных городов? Вряд ли. Даже если посчитать, что на каждый город нужно им выделить по 2 боеголовки, это всего 30-40 боеголовок. Что такое 30 боеголовок? Это всего залп одного дивизиона «Искандеров». 16 пусковых, на каждой по 2. Если они ядерные, 32 штуки. 10-15 минут, и Польша как государство, а поляки как народ исчезают с лица земли вместе со своим языком. Поэтому я призываю сейчас еще раз европейским народам крепко задуматься о том, что они вытворяют.
Я абсолютно убежден, что удар по Польше или удар по Прибалтике не вызовет никакой реакции в Соединенных Штатах. Никто рисковать безопасностью Франции, Британии и тем более Соединенных Штатов не будет. Так что можно спокойно это делать, не оглядываясь.
This again? I mean, here in Poland, this is not our first time hearing stuff like that. At some point, the crying wolf gets stale. All this talk about Russian nukes wiping out the world, but all we're seeing is missiles being shuffled back and forth between Russia, Belarus. But hey, the threats keep on coming. Meanwhile, Vladimir Putin held a meeting with the Russian Presidential Commissioner for Children's Rights, Maria Lvova-Belova, over World Children's Day. Now, it's even difficult to string these words in a single sentence. Vladimir Putin, who launched a war that has already killed hundreds of children, is meeting for Children's Day with Maria Lvova-Belova, who's repeatedly spoken about kidnapping kids from Ukraine to Russia. Let's see what they talked about.
Все понимают, что дети оказались на территории России, поскольку мы их спасали от обстрелов из зоны боевых действий. Бог с ним, это все игрища там политические, а главное, чтобы дети воссоединялись со своими родными людьми, чтобы семьи воссоединялись, чтобы они были счастливы.
Конечно. Мы действуем в интересах детей, Владимир Владимирович, то, что нужно.
So Putin says that Russia is basically saving these children from shelling. Shelling by whom? I mean, if Russia wants to help these kids, all they have to do is to stop firing the guns. That's a no-brainer, isn't it? What is Russia doing lobbing shells into areas it knows full well are full of kids? No, the next utterly cynical quote from Putin is that, in his opinion, the most important thing for these kids is to return to their relatives, for families to reunite and be happy. Well, let's take a look at some facts, shall we? According to official sources, since the beginning of the full-scale invasion, Russian operatives have forcibly removed over 20,000 Ukrainian children from their homes. Russia does not provide any data on Ukrainian deported children. Nothing is known about their whereabouts or the conditions of their stay. Now, sometimes we wonder here at Break to Fake whether there is a limit to Putin's cynicism, but do not worry, there are people whose only mission in life is to compile the necessary figures and send it to The Hague, where the data like this will finally come in handy one day. And since we're talking about World Children's Day and Russian lies about kids, let's take a look at how children are treated in Russian proper. Here's a clip from a very unique special celebration.
День защиты детей. Мы открываем самый масштабный фестиваль в России ВК Фест.
Yeah, traditional family values on full display. Entertainment has come a long way since we were kids. That outfit does not exactly scream, "Will anyone think of the children?" now, does it? And with that, we conclude this edition of Break the Fake. But for more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.